We have a lot of very strong engineers here in Taiwan, and I love Taiwan. I love being here. It's a great place. I think people come here for various reasons, and many just stay for their life.
How do you create a slice of Silicon Valley in the heart of Taipei? And along with that, how do you get Taiwan startups to seize the spirit of risk-taking, challenge conventions, and see failure as part of success, the qualities that have powered some of the world's most innovative companies? I'm Divya Gopalan, and on Connected on TaiwanPlus, we take a tour with entrepreneur Leo Cheng, a man on a mission to shake up the way business is done here. Hey Leo, nice to see you again.
Welcome, welcome.
What a cool office.
Yeah, let me show you around.
That'd be great.
So what we have here on this side is the more creative side. We work on film and TV, so some of these films and these TV series we've either co-produced or produced ourselves directly. This one here, Let's Talk About You, has been on Netflix. I believe it's been top of Netflix for something like 12 or 15 days. And then some of these other films here, Lao is actually currently on Disney+, and The Miss Shampoo is also on Netflix here. So it's been very exciting and interesting to have been part of the production process here to learn about how filmmaking works, and that actually helps me inform my path as to how to see aspects where technology can better accelerate and enhance the production process within the film and TV side.
All right, Leo, those are great posters, but there's something else that caught my attention as I walked into your office, and that's this guy.
Yes.
Can we get a picture with him?
Sure.
What is this about?
So this here is a prop from our very recently released feature film, Kung Fu. And this character's name is Diao Xiong, who is from the earlier world of the Kung Fu novels. And so if you guys have seen the film Kung Fu, you'll recognize this guy. But certainly this prop shouldn't go to waste, so we decided to bring him here to the office. He can watch over us.
Okay, there's the bird.
Yeah. And then here.
What is this?
So it's a sign, we're all gonna make it, so otherwise known as WAGMI. It's quite a bit of the optimistic energy within the technology space that we're in, sort of indicative of we're all gonna go make it together, we're all collaborative. So I think it's a very good message. That's what we're trying to do here.
And this is the beating heart of your project at the moment?
Right, this is the Trueo team. We're making a prediction market here fully on chain. So it's a prediction market similar to Polymarket, and so the team is here making the product. This is where the magic happens.
And what about this team here?
So, okay, these guys here are part of our EIR crew, we call them. It's basically folks that are very accomplished in the field in their own way, that have leading ideas that we collaborate with despite having no financial ties, but these guys are very talented. They bring new ideas, they bring expertise, and they allow us to constantly keep up with the latest trends. So here is our collection of interesting artifacts. I think it's great to have these pieces demonstrated here. So this here is a Tom Sachs rocket. So Tom Sachs is a famous American artist, you could call him. He makes things out of plywood and hardware, and he's made collaborative projects with likes of Chanel, McDonald's, and this is a collection here. Roughly just under 1,000 of these have been made, and one of them is in the permanent collection with LACMA in LA.
So Leo, what's your connection to Taiwan?
I was born here in Taipei, and fairly average Taiwanese family, middle class, lived in an apartment building with metal clinking doors and these plasticky rails that everybody can remember. Then my family immigrated to the United States when I was 11 and was educated in the US, but I always missed Taiwan. I've always loved the food, the people. I miss my relatives, the memories of my grandfather who would have his lakeside birthday celebration. We would draw little toys and things. And I missed that, and I missed the warmth of the people. And then very much later in life, after I'd gone through schooling and a bit of my career, I ended up returning based on some regulatory things that made it more challenging to do business in the United States, and I've been back since 2019.
And your life in Taiwan before you went to the U.S., you said, regular, middle class. Can you tell us a little bit about that and that transition to the U.S. and perhaps what you took with you about Taiwan to the U.S. that's made you who you are?
So I went to elementary school in Taimu Guoxiao, and back then, in that era, it was very strict. You had to do your homework, you had to listen to the teachers, and back then, teachers would even potentially beat the students for not finishing their homework or speaking out of line in class. So what I took away with me was a very strong sense of compliance in both a good and a bad way, a strong work ethic, ensuring that all my homework is done and that I was the best pupil I could be and learned everything, did all my reading, did all my homework. And that work ethic I took with me to the United States, where I finished my elementary school in the Los Angeles area.
So from Taiwan, you finished elementary school in the U.S., went on to university there, and then went on into the tech world, I believe. Can you tell us a little bit about your career trajectory and basically to the point of you coming back to Taiwan?
Sure. I've been a lifelong student in technology, just very curious, and started my career at Applied Materials, where we sold equipment to the likes of TSMC, Intel, and then moved on to Apple, where Steve Jobs came back, and that's when the iPod launched. It was pretty interesting there. And then I went off to business school, subsequently dabbled at American Express for a little bit under the enterprise credit card side, and then went on to a Chinese contract manufacturer. Then, very true to form for our San Francisco story, I ended up meeting these really smart guys at Burning Man, moved in with them, and then with them ended up launching a Web 2, it's a software called Continuous Integration, CI/CD service. It's a cloud-based software quality control system, where I ended up meeting Coinbase and the folks at Coinbase in 2014, got into learning about blockchain, and then got really curious about it, continued learning about it while I was working on Web 2 cloud compute things. And in 2017, as we exited the company to General Electric, I ended up going full-time into the crypto space in 2017. And that's when I ended up partnering with my current partner, Jeffrey Huang, also known as Machi Big Brother here in Taiwan, and where we started working more in technology, and then now so we went through DeFi, NFTs, and also now into entertainment.
Right. So it seems like you were at some very seminal moments in the evolution of the tech industry in San Francisco, and you've pretty much hit every single angle of it, from finance to deep tech to cryptos. Can you tell us where you're at right now then? Mm-hmm.
So here right now at APARC, we are working on sort of a venture production model studio, where we're actually trying to look at what technology enables and invest time, energy, funds into making these things possible. So that's why we ended up doing some projects in the crypto side, the current prediction market project, as well as looking at how AI is reshaping filmmaking, content creation, and the combination of AI, crypto, and technology is something that we're really digging deep into.
Now, one of the reasons I felt like you would be a really good representative of what Taiwan can do and can be is because you've pretty much done it all.
Thank you.
You've kind of hit the highs and the lows, and you've hit almost every aspect of the tech industry. So from what you're doing here, can you just tell us about the kind of ecosystem that you have built?
So we've looked at different venture models, and the different venture models have some pros and cons, and what we learn is that some of the fast response required for the newest trends that come up can only be addressed by moving very quickly. So that is to say, if there's a new trend that we spot, we need to bring in either our immediate team that we hire, or we invest in a friendly team that's working on it, or we simply bring in what are similar to entrepreneurs in residence for VC companies, where you have very smart people who are into their space to come and tell you about what they're working on and learn about what they're working on, and eventually potentially launching ventures around that. So it's sort of a yeah, the venture production studio model is very interesting to us. And that also then lets us create a community, which we have behind us here, of like-minded individuals, entrepreneurs from all over the world that have a place to congregate and share ideas and build ideas and collaborate in a way that we've never seen anywhere before. But with that, we're also bringing in the Silicon Valley spirit, where risk-taking is all just, let's make the newest product, let's have a minimal viable product, let's see how that goes, let's either experiment quickly and fail and iterate, or move on to something else. And that's what we're trying to do here.
You called it the Silicon Valley spirit, so this is quite usual in Silicon Valley, in
Yes.
the Bay Area. This is how many companies operate. What about in Taiwan? Is this something that you're seeing more of? Is this happening a lot in Taiwan, or are you feeling like it's very much in the nascent stages of evolution when it comes to the tech industry?
I certainly feel like there's not enough risk-taking here, and that's something that we're trying to bring in and also show some of the folks here. In our team here, we have local, very talented graduates from the top schools, as well as folks that didn't even graduate college. And we put them together and we see the magic happen. And it's happened before. We've had some very high valuation companies that come through here and build here, and we get a chance to participate with them, either knowledge sharing, simply learning how they work, looking at their workflow, participating from an investment standpoint. These things have all happened. And here in Taiwan, I think a lot of these accelerators, they take a more traditional approach. They have classes, and then they have these batches, and then they have these reviews, which are interesting and great. But at the same time, I think fundamentally, the culture isn't quite here, as I recall back in San Francisco, where everybody's looking for that, not just a salary, but also an options package, and also how they can participate on the upside. And that, unfortunately, isn't quite here in Taiwan.
Right. So we've already had the tour of your office, and you've taken us through some of the things that you're doing. So I want to break those down into
Sure.
how that works in your entire business model. Let's start with Trueo.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that and what you're trying to do with that?
Okay, so Trueo is a prediction market, and a prediction market is a venue by which you can trade real world events, the odds of the real world events. You can buy and sell, and you can buy and sell in real time. So unlike some people, the easiest people think of it as like a sports betting thing, but unlike you just place a bet and then that's it, you can actually buy and sell out of these real world events. So some great examples of this include in 2024, when Polymarket famously was predicted correctly that President Trump would win the U.S. 2024 U.S. election, and that was a seminal moment by which prediction markets are validated, and I think that was a very exciting thing. And so what we're trying to do is, now we see that is an opportunity that the market has recognized, as Polymarket has raised over tens of billions of dollars worth of valuation, at that tens of billions of dollars valuation, and they've raised tens of billions of dollars, that there is an opportunity to attach blockchain to it, to increase transparency, to ensure that the rules don't shift and change after deployment, because we put all the rules in an immutable way on the blockchain, and to have a more fair and transparent resolution system so that people can trust that when they bet on something, they will be rewarded properly.
I'm curious though, Leo, because I don't think people in Taiwan can use Trueo, and
No,
I
they
believe
cannot.
that it's not legal
That's
to this kind of, do you call it betting? So why do this in Taiwan?
We have a lot of very strong engineers here in Taiwan, and I love Taiwan. I love being here. It's a great place. I think people come here for various reasons, and many just stay for their life. And so I think specifically to Trueo, operating a globally targeted product that doesn't address Taiwan, but building it in Taiwan makes a lot of sense. The infrastructure is great. The life is great.
Okay, so I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask the question that I should need to ask now with every single venture. What are you doing with AI? How does AI play into it, and how does AI make what you're doing more efficient?
That's a
Or
very
does
good
it?
question. No, it does. It totally does. I think that AI is, first things first, I believe everybody should use AI for whatever they do. So let's just start there. But specifically within business, I think we can break it down, targeting in the crypto side, back to Trueo. we have engineered and we're about to deploy this user created market. So it's basically allowing every human to ask a question with a market price indicator of their question. And we're using AI to improve the way that these rule sets are written. So earlier I'd mentioned the rules need to be clear, the definitions need to be clear. And we have to assume that the average person isn't going to know how to make these rule sets correct. And so using AI, you can ask a simple question and the AI is going to be able to enumerate all the rules correctly to allow these user-generated markets to come true. On the flip side, on the resolution side, we're harnessing AI to look up events to indicate at the resolution phase, optimistically we call it, which is AI can say, make a decision to propose, yes, this event it resolves in yes, this event resolves in no.
Who decides on the events, the user or your Trueo?
You mean what events should be bet on, or how an event should be resolved?
Both.
Okay, so let me go to we do have markets within Trueo that we decide what should be markets that people should care about. But with the new launch of the user created market, anybody can ask questions. And particularly, I'll give an example where this is useful. There's a storm going on out here. So I think about my favorite fruit here in Taiwan, the shikya. It is delicious. If you haven't had it, you should have it. Custard apple, I think they're called in English.
We'll put some B-roll on that.
Yeah,
I love that stuff.
That's great. So now, if I were a farmer in Taidong, and this storm is hitting, and it's going to negatively impact my crop, well, I can hedge against that event. I can ask, will this storm land in Taidong by this date, yes or no? And by asking that, there are two things that can happen. One is I have a market priced indicator of whether the storm's going to hit or not in real time. And two is that I have a path to hedge against this incident. So if my whole family's livelihood depends on my crop not being destroyed, I can bet on, yes, it happens. I don't want it to happen, but yes, if it happens, I get paid, right? So I do think that for prediction markets, oftentimes people miss are these two things. You can take prediction market outcomes to understand the odds of a thing happening with a market price indication. And two is you can hedge against the negative outcome of this. But going back to the AI aspect of how this is used, it's both in terms of drafting the markets as well as resolving the markets. But we do have a human intervention bit in the back. It's called so we call this optimistic oracle because it's optimistic, meaning that we think it's right. But humans have about 24 hours time when the resolution decision is made to challenge that, to say, no, I think you're wrong. Let's bring in other people to come weigh in. And we have a system by how that gets resolved fairly and transparently.
So interesting. I want to move on to the other aspect of your business, which is the entertainment side.
Yes.
And you said integrating AI into that also. So give us a big picture look of what you're trying to do.
Okay. So what we're trying to do is create super good looking, entertaining assets, content that people care to look at and enjoy and consume, and make that in a super low budget, super efficient way so that we can have Hollywood style outcomes without Hollywood scale budgets. So there are many ways within the creative process. I think this is actually a hot topic within entertainment. Some people say, hey, you shouldn't do this. You're taking people's jobs, right? Hey, you shouldn't do this because the taste gets meshed together. Hey, there's some IP infringement. There are ways around this stuff. IP protection still remains important, but specifically, if you reduce the pieces that require a lot of human work that frankly is boring work, and you increase the amount of time that humans can spend to be creative, then you're able to actually potentially make a faster, cheaper product better.
You seem to have a number of ventures here under one roof. Is there a common thread through it all aside from you?
Yeah, I think the common thread is simply that we are taking technology to enable new possibilities, and we're investing based on a technological improvement to see where this takes us. We invest time, money, relationship, and that taking these technological improvements to see what we can do and making something real and possible better, cheaper, faster.
What do you think is missing here in Taiwan? I mean, I kind of get the feel here that what you've done is create something that we could probably find in the Bay Area, in the US. But what do you think is missing here in Taiwan that's stopping other companies from doing the same thing?
I think it's this very conservative mindset that everybody has here. And we know that there are roughly a number of, I think, estimate what, 6 or 7 big banking families that control a lot of things here. And that leads to a very conservative behavior. And what we're trying to do here is build a community of not just international people, English-speaking people, but also people here that are Taiwanese folks that are your typical kind of Taiwan-grown entrepreneurs, and put them together so we can share the knowledge, and we can create this magic. And I think oftentimes within the Taiwanese community, what you see is there's a lot of self-selected segregation, and it's just habitual, right? Like I see it in our graduate schools. When I was going to business school, the Taiwanese students stuck with the Taiwanese students, and the domestic students stuck with the domestic students, and they don't really take the opportunity to intermingle. But I think that's just human nature. But we have a very magical thing here. I think I'll just take an example on the blockchain side. A lot of us are believers in the values of transparency, of open source, privacy, and all these things. And a lot of us are believers in the Ethereum ecosystem. And that like-mindedness exists, crosses the border of education and language and culture, and everybody comes together to talk. And this is the community we've created to allow for that cross-pollination and to allow for that magic to flourish. And when you think about the conservatism, let's just do what's been done because it's a safe thing, and I don't want to be blamed for taking risk. I don't want to be the guy that changed the policy, and then now I'm the jerk. But I'll talk about all the change I want because that's risk-free. That makes me sound super visionary, but I don't have to execute on that, because the person who executes on that and succeeds gets no credit. The person who executes on that and fails gets all the blame. And so we need to change that mindset. And I think we need to change that mindset within the government. We need to change that mindset amongst ourselves here living in Taiwan. For people that are foreign educated like me, as well as those who are domestically educated, that I think, when you look at it from this foreigner perspective, the society is super segregated by those language lines. And I see people trying to, intermingle more. But I think we need more places and people to say, hey, let's not just invite the foreigners that are capable to come in and do these things, but also how do we share that knowledge? And it's kind of roughly like take the hardworking part of the Taiwanese mindset and then strap on top of that this dream big. I was actually looking at my office today thinking, what does this represent? And we lifted the ceiling out of this thing, right? There's no limit to this. There's no ceiling to this. You just have to come in and try it and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. Move on. Do the next thing.
So what would be the one quality you would say that has allowed you to get to here through all the different kind of, you've twisted and you've turned through careers in Silicon Valley, you've tried different things. What do you think that what is it that you have that has made you be able to do that and then also succeed and then walk away from it?
Yeah, I think it's a curiosity, but with a slight tint of optimism. So optimistic curiosity. And by that, I mean, when you look at a thing, I remember it was 2008 when one of the guys that worked for me in one of the tech firms I was at on my team, he says, hey, Leo, check out this Bitcoin thing. It's like you strap your computer on and then you can make money. I'm like, that sounds like a scam. Well, why would you want to do that? That's so meaningless. And in 2014, I buy some Bitcoins. I was able to keep up with it and learn about it, be curious. But second, be optimistic and think, how do I make something here? How do I add value? How do I strap this technology to something else? And much the same as today with AI. Hey, I see these AI content being made. Can I then use AI to write a script on one of for example, the fantasy franchise we have a license on, Rift War? Can I make a script? And I'm actually in the process of just trying that out. And just this week, I produced some footage. It's honestly needs work, but I think that level
ready for the screens yet?
Yeah, I'm trying, right? So that kind of curiosity as to like, what possibility can this technology create, and what can I do with this, and how can I apply it to something I love? It'll never stop for me, and I think that thread then really makes sense for how did I go from semiconductors and hardware and accessories and the software to crypto to AI to entertainment, and that whole path. The through line there is the curiosity and the optimism.
And finally, flipping it on its head, what would you say for entrepreneurs like you and other people who are looking to invest, what would you say would be the main reason, or give me a few reasons as to why Taiwan is the place to do it?
Yeah, so I think in technology anyway, and also entertainment, we have a lot of very talented individuals here in Taiwan, highly educated individuals who are very hardworking. So as a founder, it is good to have sort of the educated talented workforce coupled with the fact that the overhead isn't as high on your burn rate. So your run rate runs longer on the funds you raise. So you're able to put together a nice office with a strong team for a lot less of the money that you would pay for elsewhere. And then on top of that, the quality of life is great. As a parent, my kids, I feel safe that when they're here, there's a great education system. They come back with smiles. They love being here. The community is great.
It's safe.
It is super safe. It's like the saying that it takes a village to raise a child. I'll just speak for Taipei, since Taiwan isn't in itself one city, but for Taipei where we're living, it is a gigantic village of millions of people who are trying to raise children together in that sense. An old grandma might walk up and say, hey, your kid's not wearing a thick enough jacket, there's a storm out, are you not paying attention? Which is in a way insulting, but in a way very warm. Like, it's this cute little grandma saying you should take care of your kid. Like, okay, I thank you for your enthusiasm. I've had people, when I tow my two kids around the buses, they help me like hold on to a child while I badge into the bus. Things like that I'll say in San Francisco I didn't get. And that so come here for the infrastructure, maybe even for the food, and stay here for the life.
Leo Cheng, thank you so much. I learned so much from our conversation. And for our viewers, it has been good to have your company. Thank you for watching. If you'd like more tech and business stories from Taiwan, follow us on our socials where we keep you informed, engaged, and connected.